Modern poker wasn't born, it was engineered. One legend wrote the playbook, another turned trophies into currency, a third proved mastery travels across every game, and a fourth translated secrets for the masses. Stay In will expose the decisions, feuds, and revolutions that built today's meta and what players still misunderstand. Doyle Brunson steps into frame first, not as a nostalgia piece, but as the blueprint. A traveling road gambler who survived the wild side of poker, he decided the game had to outgrow backrooms and myth. His goal was simple and audacious: make poker teachable and professional. He self-published a 600-plus page manual in the late 1970s and called it a course in Power Poker. The title the community later gave it says everything: the Bible of Poker. That book didn't arrive from a soft life. The motivation behind it was survival and legitimacy, codifying what worked so the next generation didn't have to learn the hard way. Brunson's own resume made people listen. Consecutive World Series of Poker, main event titles in 1976 and 1977, the famous 10-deuce full house endings that turned a junk holding into a legend, and a career total of 10 bracelets. The back-to-back titles alone placed him in a tiny club of repeat champions. The obstacles were real. There wasn't a stable canon of strategy, televised poker didn't exist, and the wider public saw card players as hustlers rather than professionals. By dumping real strategy into print, Brunson undercut the secrecy culture and showed aggression as a system, not a mood. That shifted the baseline: raise first, force decisions, apply pressure before the river solves it for you. His writing also normalized the idea that poker could be studied like a craft and passed on. In other words, that you could treat poker like a profession. That one move helped seed an entire industry of training books, forums, videos, and later solver-era education. When modern players talk about ranges, pressure, and value extraction as teachable, they're walking a road he paved. And because his credibility came from winning, twice in a row, then repeatedly over decades, the blueprint stuck. The impact on today's game is visible. Tournament broadcasts lean on stories Brunson made possible, a strategic canon, and a professional archetype viewers could follow. Even the cultural lore, the 10-deuce nickname, the road gambler mythos, keeps the game's roots alive while the rest of the ecosystem went corporate. In short, Brunson turned the game from oral tradition into textbook, and that textbook created students. Now shift the camera to Phil Hellmuth. Character, polarizing record setter with a made-for-television personality and a relentlessly tournament-first approach. Goal, rack up bracelets in marquee events and make winning feel like the point of the whole show. Motivation, legacy, and proof that discipline and table image can beat chaos across decades. The facts are stark. He owns the all-time World Series of Poker bracelet record at 17, stretched across 5 different decades, and he is the only player to have won both the Las Vegas main event and the World Series of Poker Europe main event. His obstacles were twofold. First, the meta kept changing. Fields grew, formats diversified, and younger players brought new math. Second, his temperament made him a lightning rod, yet the friction fed the brand. The Poker Brat moniker, his outbursts, and his heavy presence on televised staples built a public face for poker that casual viewers could not ignore. On Poker, After Dark alone, he became a recurring anchor the player producers knew would carry narrative and ratings through conflict and table talk. That visibility helped turn niche broadcasts into appointment TV. Why does that matter to modern poker? Because Hellmuth hardwired tournament prestige into the audience's brain. When a casual fan thinks poker champion, they think bracelets, leaderboards, and big stage moments, the very frame his record supports. Television leaned into personality as a weapon, table image, speech play, selective show and tell, and that toolkit filtered back into how grinders package their own brands today. Even pros who dislike his style still operate in the media ecosystem his presence helped create. Trophy-first narratives, clip-friendly blow-ups, and a clear scoreboard fans can follow. The record did the heavy lifting. The persona made sure everyone saw it. Run the tape on Phil Ivey and the tone changes. Character, quiet apex predator who treats formats like languages, fluency first, flash second. Goal, beat the strongest games in any environment, whether it's mixed game bracelets, nosebleed cash, or high roller series. Motivation, mastery and respect among peers, not decibel levels on TV. The ledger backs it up. 11 World Series of poker bracelets, positioning him just behind the all-time leader, and a reputation grounded in success across multiple variants. Not only No Limit Hold'em, Ivy's obstacles weren't TV edits, they were edges and ethics. His edge-sorting baccarat sessions triggered legal fights in London and Atlantic City, culminating in a United Kingdom Supreme Court decision that reset how English law tests dishonesty, and a separate United States case that ended in a settlement after a federal judgment against him. Whatever your view on advantage play, those rulings forced casinos and pros to rethink the line between mechanical edge and prohibited conduct. Few poker players have nudged legal doctrine. Ivy did. What did that shape in modern poker? First, it reinforced mixed game prestige. Bracelets outside Hold'em became the flex, the sign you weren't a one-trick pro. Second, it elevated a style that reads human timing as closely as solver printouts, minimal speech, calibrated aggression, ruthless value. Third, the legal saga made edge a mainstream topic. Players today think in edges, informational, mechanical, mental. The conversation around what counts as fair play, randomization tools, real-time assistance bands, marked card protocols, lives in the space those cases spotlighted. Even fans who never touched baccarat now understand that not every edge is honored at the cage. Then bring in Daniel Negreanu, the translator. Character, table-talking ambassador who made the game feel learnable without dumbing it down. Goal, win major titles while opening the strategy to fans, on broadcast, in books, and later in daily vlogs. Motivation, connection, and clarity show how ranges and reads fit together so a viewer feels they could try. The resume is public. 7 World Series of poker bracelets, 2 World Poker Tour titles, multiple Player of the Year awards, and recognition as the Global Poker Index Player of the Decade covering the poker boom era. Obstacles. The whole meta shifted under his feet. After the moneymaker boom, solver-aided study and nosebleed fields changed everyone's priors. Negreanu built and defended small ball, a philosophy of pot control, position, and steady pressure, then publicly wrestled with how to integrate modern game theory baselines with exploitative reads. That transparency matters. He explained his adjustments in interviews, long-form blogs, and most of all his WSOP vlog stream where he breaks down hands, thought processes, and emotional swings for an audience that now expects educational access as part of the entertainment. His brand choices also resized the industry. When he ended a long sponsorship with one major site and later signed on as the face of another, it signaled a realignment and showed how much sway a single ambassador can move in the online ecosystem. And because he kept teaching, books, hand breakdowns, live stream sweat sessions, he created a path for pros to become educators without disappearing from the top tier. The result is a player funnel. Viewers learn, deposit, play, and stick around because the game feels navigable. Now stitch the 4 together so the viewer sees one story, not 4 biographies. Brunson turns poker from rumor into curriculum. He gives the game a manual, proves aggression is systemized, and legitimizes study. That invites an audience that wants to learn, not just watch. Helmuth turns the curriculum into a spectacle with a scoreboard. His bracelet race provides a clean narrative for TV and a reason for casual fans to care about June in Las Vegas. Viewers learn to measure greatness in crowns and decades, and tournament poker becomes the public face of the game. Ivy turns the spectacle into depth. He shows that poker isn't just one game and that greatness travels, limit and draw variants, mixed rotations, cash and tournaments. The legal spotlight on edge forces the broader gambling world to clarify boundaries, and poker borrows that language for its own fairness debates.
And now I got this guy on my right. I think I'm really good. Let's see what he turns over. Let's see. Ooh, the Cadillac of poker.
Negreanu turns the depth into translation. He narrates hands in real time, codifies small ball, and models how a pro evolves under solver pressure without losing feel. He builds a bridge from TV table to laptop screen so the next generation can follow step by step and then try. What you get in modern poker is a hybrid built across these 4 arcs. Strategy isn't secret anymore, it's a library. Brunson's idea scaled up by 2 decades of training culture. Prestige has a metric, bracelets, and a star system, the Helmuth effect, so casuals have a rooting interest before the first card is pitched. Mastery stretches across formats, an Ivy inheritance, pushing top pros to learn outside No Limit Hold'em if they want true legacy. An explanation is now part of the product, Negreanu's lane, where vlogs, hand histories, and live study make fans feel inside the process rather than just watching a result. Let's zoom into the practical fingerprints each one left on how hands actually get played today. The open raise and free bet culture in tournaments owes a debt to Brunson's systemization of pressure and to the generation of students that book inspired. Even if modern charts refine sizing and frequency, the baseline instinct to seize initiative is straight out of that original playbook. The same goes for the idea that game selection, bankroll management, and professional discipline are strategic outputs, not just lifestyle advice, because once poker became teachable, it also became plannable. Table image as a live tool weaponized on TV is the Helmuth contribution most players copy without noticing. The visible rituals, slow reveals, selective showdowns, verbal framing are now standard levers. More subtly, his relentless focus on closing events taught a generation to value stack-to-blind awareness, ICM pressure, and endgame discipline. He's lived through format creep, turbo bounties, mixed variants, monster fields, and still added bracelets in a fifth decade, which endorses the idea that tournament edges can be built around fundamentals and patience, not just solver outputs. Ivy's imprint shows up when elite players migrate to mixed game lineups and high roller series without losing step. The modern prestige ladder includes deuce to 7 draw, triple draw, stud variants, and a rotating 8-game set because the signal for best stopped being just hold'em trophies. His quiet timing and balance, aggression that lands without a speech, also influenced the current taste for clean, low information lines that protect ranges rather than advertise bravado. And yes, the edge-sorting saga echoed into poker. Rulebooks, card-marking protocols, and a sharper culture around what counts as a loud advantage. Negreanu's stamp is everywhere fans learn. Searchable hand breakdown libraries, live sweat vlogs during festivals, and a language for blending exploitative reads with solver baselines. Small ball gave the audience an identity for a style. Lots of pots in position, many small bets, big pots reserved for big hands, and he kept updating its boundaries in public as fields got tougher. That transparency trained fans to expect instruction wrapped inside entertainment, which is why today's top pros run streams, release study packs, and speak in ranges on camera. The tensions these four created also keep the product interesting. Feel versus math, Negreanu's table talk, and Ivy's silence on one side, solver outputs on the other. Persona versus performance, Helmuth's blow-ups draw clicks, his results silence the eye rolls. Tradition versus innovation, Brunson's textbook meets modern software. Instead of choosing one, modern poker uses all of them. Study hard, project a brand, respect mixed game mastery, and explain your thinking to the audience that funds the ecosystem. That blend is why the game keeps growing even as it gets tougher. If you strip out the names and only trace the shapes, modern poker looks like this. A textbook that invited students, a scoreboard that created stars, a standard that forced fluency beyond one game, and a voice that taught the crowd how to follow along. That's Brunson, Helmuth, Ivy, and Negreanu. 4 different answers to the same question. What does it take to matter here? The industry, broadcasts, training sites, live tours, and online rooms still runs on their answers.